Lila crept barefoot through her grandmother's moonlit garden, chasing the soft glow of fireflies that flickered like tiny stars. The world around her was hushed, save for the gentle rustle of leaves stirred by a cool night breeze. At the very heart of the garden, she spotted a single plant she'd never seen before. Slender stems with silver-veined leaves, and a single blossom that shone a deep, glowing blue beneath the night sky. Lila's curiosity tingled in her fingertips as she reached out to touch a delicate petal. The moment her skin brushed it, a gentle warmth spread through her hand, and the scent of fresh rain mixed with wild honey drifted softly around her. Suddenly, a whisper brushed her ear, soft and kind, like the wind itself. "Thank you for seeing me." Startled, Lila leaned closer. Dew on the leaves shimmered, forming tiny, twirling shapes, dancing figures spinning gracefully in the moonlight. She realized this plant was alive in ways beyond roots and stems, holding secrets only the night could reveal. Sitting beside it, Lila listened to the whispers, learning stories of hidden places and creatures who only awoke after midnight. When dawn's first light crept in, the blossom slowly closed, its mysteries safely tucked away. But now, Lila knew that some wonders revealed themselves only to those brave enough to wander in the dark and truly see.
Beneath the city's pulsing lights, Dr. Mara Lynn tended her neon garden, a patchwork of luminous flora glowing in shades unseen in nature. Each night, the plants shimmered anew, their radiance shifting in subtle, intricate patterns. This evening, Mara watched as the azure bellflowers pulsed with a slow, gentle rhythm, while emerald mosses glowed steadily, their light steady and calm. She checked her worn notebook. Blue meant clear skies, steady green foretold mild breezes, and flickering amber warned of approaching storms. She smiled softly. Tomorrow would be perfect for the city festival. Her garden was no ordinary collection. Years of research, countless experiments, and a touch of genius had bred these plants to respond to atmospheric changes hours before they occurred. Neighbors often visited, eager to spot the first hints of rain or sun in the garden's glow. Mara felt a quiet pride as she patiently explained the language of light to curious children, their eyes wide with wonder. As dawn approached, the neon garden's colors softened, fading gently with the promise of day. Mara knew her glowing companions had spoken true once again. She closed her notebook, satisfied. The future, at least tomorrow, was bright and full of hope.
In the heart of old Briarwood, where shadows tangled with the night air and whispers drifted like mist, there stood an orchard that locals spoke of in hushed tones. No one dared enter after dusk, for they said a tree appeared only when the moon was full and high, invisible at all other times. One night, drawn by curiosity and a quiet longing, Clara slipped past the rustling leaves and into the orchard. Her heart fluttered as she waited beneath the silver glow, clutching a lantern she barely needed. Then, as the clock struck midnight, a shimmer rippled through the clearing. Slowly, branches materialized, heavy with fruit that glowed softly like pearls. Clara reached up, her fingers trembling, and plucked a single orb. It felt cool and smooth in her palm. She bit into it cautiously. Sweetness burst across her tongue, layered with flavors she had never known: honey, starlight, and something wild and free. As she savored the fruit, the orchard seemed to hum with quiet joy, as if alive and grateful. When the moon began to wane, the tree faded away, leaving only dew-kissed grass where its roots had stood. Clara hurried home, a single seed from the fruit nestled safely in her pocket. From that night on, she returned each full moon, drawn by the orchard's silent promise of wonder, guarding its secret as her own sacred treasure. In the golden city of Memphis, beside the mighty Nile, lived a pampered cat named Bastet, cherished by the pharaoh himself. Each day she lounged on silk cushions, basking in the warm sun that filtered through grand columns. One bright morning, while chasing a fluttering scarab, Bastet slipped through a hidden crack in the palace wall and tumbled into the bustling streets beyond. Startled but curious, she darted past crowded market stalls, weaving between sandal-clad feet and the swish of linen robes. The air was thick with scents of spices and fresh bread. Guided by the sweet aroma of ripe figs, she found herself before the towering Sphinx, its gaze both wise and mysterious. There, an old woman with kind eyes offered her a bowl of fresh milk, whispering tales of secret tunnels hidden beneath the shifting sands. Intrigued, Bastet followed a slithering cobra into a narrow passageway, its walls lined with glowing hieroglyphs that seemed to tell ancient stories. At the tunnel's end, she emerged in the pharaoh's lush garden, greeted by the familiar scent of blooming lotus flowers and the gentle hum of bees. The pharaoh, relieved and joyful, knelt and welcomed her back with open arms. Bastet, her heart full of newfound adventure, purred softly, content to be home, her spirit forever touched by the wonders she had discovered beyond the palace walls.
In the quiet shade of Willow Glen, Turtle and Rabbit met beneath a sprawling oak tree whose branches swayed gently in the breeze. Rabbit, always quick with a mischievous grin, nudged Turtle gently on the shell. "How about a secret challenge? Just you and me, no audience, no fanfare," he whispered excitedly. Turtle's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "What sort of challenge?" he asked softly. Rabbit leaned in closer, lowering his voice to a playful whisper. "A test of patience and cleverness." That very afternoon, they each set off on a quest to find the smoothest pebble in the entire glen. The rules were simple. The pebble must be found, not taken from anyone else, and returned by sunset without fail. Rabbit dashed through the tall grass, searching every nook and cranny with his keen eyes, hopping quickly from spot to spot. Turtle, moving slowly and deliberately, studied the ground carefully, noticing tiny details others often missed. As the sun dipped low behind the distant hills, Turtle returned first, holding a small, perfectly round stone, its surface shining softly like silver in the fading light. Moments later, Rabbit arrived, clutching an oddly shaped but gleaming pebble that caught the last rays of sunlight. They both laughed heartily, realizing that each stone was beautiful in its own unique way. "We both won," Turtle said with a warm smile. Rabbit nodded in agreement. Their secret race had no losers, only two friends sharing a clever adventure that neither would forget.
When the moonlight spilled softly across the chessboard, the pawns stirred in silence. Each stood at attention, white and black, lined in neat rows, but their minds wandered far beyond the rigid squares. Pawn E4 gazed at the distant edge, his heart fluttering with longing. He imagined rolling fields of grass, not checkered black and white, and skies unbounded by the strict rules of the game. Beside him, Pawn D5 whispered, "Do you ever wonder what's past the last square?" The others nodded, their wooden faces solemn under the starlit window. Tonight, the kings and queens slept soundly, but the pawns conjured dreams of freedom. They saw themselves leaping over boundaries, dancing where no footsteps echoed, and exploring lands untouched by strategy or command. In their dreams, they weren't mere pieces. Each became a hero, a wanderer, a friend. The wind outside rattled the window pane, and for a moment it sounded like applause. As dawn crept in, the pawns straightened, ready for another day of silent duty. Yet in their hearts, the memory of that night, the hope, the dreaming, remained forever alive. A quiet rebellion against the confines of their fate.
Elsie tiptoed through the dew-soaked grass, her gaze fixed on the old greenhouse behind her grandmother's cottage. Its glass panes were clouded with dust and age, the door forever locked with a heavy, rusted latch. Every spring, Elsie wondered why the roses inside never bloomed, even as the rest of the garden exploded in vibrant color and life. One quiet morning, just as the sun began to warm the earth, she spotted a rusty key dangling from a low branch on the ancient oak tree nearby. Heart pounding with excitement and curiosity, she carefully slipped the key into the greenhouse lock. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a shadowy world of tangled vines and silent, dormant rose bushes. She wandered among them, her fingers brushing the thorny stems as she searched for clues. On the far wall, she noticed a faded note pinned to the weathered wood. "Love and laughter make roses bloom." Elsie smiled softly, remembering how her grandmother used to sing and tell stories in the garden, filling the air with warmth. She began to hum her favorite tune, dancing lightly through the rows, her laughter echoing gently off the glass panes. Slowly, green buds unfurled into soft, blushing petals, filling the air with a sweet fragrance. By evening, the greenhouse glowed with color and life. Elsie locked the door behind her, the secret safe once more, and the roses blooming at last.
Did you know that an elite military system once determined your fate from birth? Deep within Imperial China, the 8 banners were more than just soldiers. They were a powerful social order shaping families, careers, and even fashion. Each banner, identified by a unique color, was a community unto itself, blending Manchu, Mongol, and Han Chinese heritage. Banner members enjoyed unique privileges, land, stipends, and the right to wear distinctive clothing, setting them apart from commoners. Life was strictly regulated. Marriages, occupations, and even hairstyles followed banner rules. Children trained from a young age, learning archery, horsemanship, and strategy, preparing for a lifetime of service. But the banners weren't just warriors. They were administrators, scholars, and diplomats. Over time, their influence faded, but their legacy lives on in art, language, and tradition. Imagine a society where your entire existence, from food to future, was dictated by the color of your banner. The 8 banners reveal a hidden world where loyalty, discipline, and identity intertwined, shaping the destiny of millions. In the quiet hum of Mrs. Dalloway's laundry room, something peculiar happened every Thursday. Socks vanished. Not with a bang, but a gentle swoosh, as if whisked away by a breeze only they could feel. One evening, the blue polka dot sock, tired of waiting for its missing pair, noticed a tiny opening at the back of the dryer drum. A soft, warm glow beckoned from within. Gathering all its courage, it slipped through the narrow gap and tumbled down a spiraling tunnel lined with lint, buttons, and stray threads. The tunnel opened into a cozy den, where socks of every color and pattern lounged comfortably, sharing stories of their journeys and adventures. The blue polka dot sock's heart leapt as it spotted its missing match across the room. They rushed together, their threads tingling with joy and relief. All around them, socks reunited, weaving a tapestry of warmth, comfort, and belonging. When the laundry cycle ended, the blue pair returned side by side to the basket above. Mrs. Dalloway smiled softly, unaware of the magical reunion that had just unfolded beneath the ordinary hum of her home.
Imagine a ship sailing through time. As the years pass, every wooden plank, every nail is replaced one by one until not a single original piece remains. Is it still the same ship? This is the ship of Theseus paradox, a centuries-old puzzle that asks, what truly defines identity over time? Now consider this twist. If someone gathered all the discarded pieces and rebuilt the original ship, which vessel should be considered the real ship of Theseus? The one that evolved through gradual change, or the one restored from old parts? This question reaches far beyond vessels and materials. What if every part of you changed? Your beliefs, memories, even your body? Would you remain the same person? Is identity rooted in continuous existence, in physical substance, or in something less tangible, like the pattern or story that persists through change? The paradox invites us to question whether we are merely collections of parts, or something more enduring and unified. Next time you reflect on who you are, ask yourself, what truly makes you you, even as everything around and within you changes?
It began on a sunlit bench outside Marlowe's cafe. A pair of sleek black sunglasses sat abandoned, their lenses gleaming under the morning light. Mrs. Ellery, rushing and late for her knitting club, noticed them and scooped them up. She slipped them on and paused. The world sharpened. Details once missed became vivid and clear. She spotted a lost wallet tucked beneath a bush and returned it to a grateful Mr. Finch, who had been searching frantically. Later, a teenager named Danny found the sunglasses left on a park statue. Curious, he slipped them on and felt an unexpected surge of bravery. He marched straight to the community center and confessed to breaking the window last week, earning unexpected forgiveness and a chance to make amends. The glasses moved again, forgotten on a crowded bus seat and picked up by Officer Lane. Through the tinted lenses, he noticed a suspicious figure lurking in the crowd and swiftly thwarted a pickpocket's attempt. By evening, the sunglasses rested quietly on the library's lost and found shelf, waiting patiently. Each wearer changed in small, peculiar ways, never realized the true thread that bound their day together. The sunglasses simply waited for the next hand to claim them.
In the shadowy streets of Japan, children whisper about Kuchisake Onna, the slit-mouthed woman. According to legend, she appears late at night, her face concealed by a surgical mask. She approaches unsuspecting victims with a single chilling question: "Am I beautiful?" If you answer yes, she removes her mask, revealing a grotesque, ear-to-ear mouth slit. She asks again. Say no, and she attacks with a pair of scissors. Say yes, and she may still carve your mouth to match hers. The origins trace back to Japan's Edo period, where tales tell of a samurai's jealous wife mutilated for infidelity, her vengeful spirit doomed to wander. Over time, the story twisted, merging with modern fears, masked strangers, random violence, and urban isolation. Some versions claim that answering ambiguously or distracting her with candy can save you from her wrath. Reports of masked women stalking schoolchildren in the 1970s sparked widespread panic, blurring the lines between reality and myth. Today, Kuchisake Onna endures in Japanese folklore, a terrifying reminder that some fears are never truly laid to rest.
Alex clutched his empty backpack, heart pounding as he approached the librarian's desk. "I swear I returned the clockmaker's secret," he insisted, voice trembling slightly. Mrs. Porter shook her head, concern in her eyes. "It's not on the shelf or in the returns bin, Alex. We've checked twice." Determined to clear his name, Alex retraced his steps carefully. He visited the park where he'd spent hours reading under the old oak tree, scanning the grass and benches. At the bakery, he asked Mrs. Chen if she'd seen a blue-covered book lying around. She shook her head but promised to keep an eye out. Back at school, he peered into the lost and found box, hoping for a miracle. No luck anywhere. That evening, as the sun dipped low, Alex spotted a flash of blue in Mr. Patel's warmly lit window. Heart racing, he hurried over and knocked. Mr. Patel smiled, holding up the missing book. "I found this on my bench outside yesterday. Thought it belonged to my granddaughter, but she never came for it." Relief washed over Alex like a wave. He thanked Mr. Patel and raced back to the library. Mrs. Porter's face lit up as he handed over the book. "You didn't give up," she said warmly. Alex grinned, already eyeing the shelves for his next adventure, knowing that sometimes the search itself is the greatest reward. In a tiny workshop nestled between chiming towers lived Mr. Felix, a humble watchmaker known for his delicate hands and curious mind. Each day, he tinkered with gears and springs, dreaming of capturing the very essence of time itself. One sleepless night, as moonlight danced softly across his cluttered desk, Felix assembled a peculiar device, an ornate pocket watch adorned with a single ruby button. With trembling fingers, he pressed it. Instantly, the world outside his window halted mid-breath. Leaves hung weightless in the air, raindrops froze mid-fall, and distant bells hung silent, their echoes suspended. Felix wandered through the stillness, savoring the profound hush. In this pocket of eternity, he fixed broken clocks, mended his favorite teacup, and even painted a delicate portrait, all without a single second slipping by. When he pressed the button again, time rushed back as if nothing had changed, none the wiser. Felix kept his secret close, quietly helping his neighbors in ways they'd never know. Though he remained just a watchmaker to the world, Felix smiled softly, knowing he'd shaped moments in ways only he could, bending time itself to his will.
Every midnight, Harold's shovel bit into the cold earth, his only company the hush of wind and the weight of solitude. Tonight, however, a faint whisper drifted up from the soil, threading between the roots like a secret. "Closer," it urged, barely louder than his own heartbeat. He froze, sweat prickling his skin despite the chill that seeped into his bones. The voice persisted, coaxing him further down the row of old moss-laden stones, where shadows clung like cobwebs. With trembling hands, he unearthed a patch untouched for decades. The earth here was softer, as if it had been recently disturbed, pulsing with a strange warmth. He dug deeper, the voice growing clearer, desperate. "Set me free." The spade struck wood, a rotten box, smaller than a coffin, almost childlike in size. He pried it open, expecting bones. Instead, he stared into the hollow sockets of his own face, perfectly preserved, mouth agape in a silent scream. The whisper became a howl, flooding his mind with memories not his own, twisting his thoughts into a maddening spiral. As dawn crept over the horizon, Harold vanished without a trace, leaving behind only an untouched grave and the echo of voices eager for a new keeper.
Mist curled along the forest path as Rowan stumbled, heart pounding with uncertainty. The woods stretched endlessly in every direction, shadows twisting and merging in the fading light. He paused beneath a great willow, its branches sweeping low like arms inviting an embrace. The air shimmered softly, and a gentle rustle caught his ear. Rowan froze, straining to listen. Soft melodic whispers drifted from the willow's leaves, forming words only he could understand. "Fear not, traveler. Follow the song of the wind." Trusting the voice, Rowan took a hesitant step where the willow's roots seemed to point. Each time he faltered, the leaves shivered, guiding him forward with quiet insistence. The path wound through ancient oaks and moonlit streams, always with the willow's whispers at his back, steady and sure. At last, the trees parted, revealing the warm glow of lanterns in the distant village. Rowan turned to thank the willow, but only a gentle breeze remained, carrying the faintest echo of its song. Smiling, he hurried home, forever grateful for the tree that spoke in secrets, and the quiet magic that dwelled deep within its roots.
In the heart of the old woods, there grew a sapling unlike any other. Its slender trunk shimmered silver under the moonlight, and its leaves whispered secrets to the wind, rustling softly like a lullaby. Lost children, drawn by its gentle, otherworldly glow, found their way to the sapling when the world felt too big and shadows too deep to face alone. The sapling listened closely to each child's trembling voice, never judging, only understanding the quiet hopes hidden beneath their fears. With every wish whispered into its smooth bark, a single silver leaf would flutter down, catching the child's tears and glowing warmly in their palm like a tiny lantern. Wishes were never grand or selfish. A way home, a friend to laugh with, a warm meal for a hungry belly, or a soft place to rest. The sapling granted them, quietly and surely, weaving its subtle magic into the fabric of the world. As dawn crept in, the children always awoke on the edge of the woods, their hearts lighter, their wishes granted in small, perfect ways that felt like miracles. The sapling remained, its roots deep and steady, its branches waiting patiently, ever ready to listen to the next lost voice wandering through the trees, offering hope in the darkest hours. I wandered the abandoned main street, my footsteps echoing against boarded windows and dusty brick. Every storefront was swallowed by darkness, except one, a tiny bakery with a single yellow bulb burning in the window. The warm glow cut through the gloom, promising safety, or maybe just company. I pressed my face to the glass. Inside, the shelves were full, fresh bread, pastries, all untouched as if time had frozen. A bell on the door tinkled as I stepped in. The air was sweet, the silence thick and heavy. No one stood behind the counter. I called out, but my voice was swallowed by the hush. Something compelled me to stay. I sat at a little table, comforted by the light. I watched the empty street, waiting for someone else to come. Hours passed. My phone had no signal. The bread never grew stale. The pastries never lost their steam. I tried to leave, but the door wouldn't budge. Through the glass, I saw another figure approach. A woman, pale and shivering, drawn by the only light for miles. She stepped inside, eyes wide with fear. I smiled, remembering how desperately I'd wanted company. The bell tinkled. The light stayed on. Whiskers, the sleek black cat with emerald eyes, awoke to a world cloaked in shadow. The usual silver glow that danced across the rooftops was missing, leaving the village wrapped in an eerie darkness. Puzzled, she leapt from her windowsill and padded silently through the sleeping streets, her paws barely making a sound on the cobblestones. The moon, normally bright and proud, was nowhere to be seen in the sky. Whiskers' tail flicked with determination as she set off on a quest to find the missing light. She darted between garden gates and leapt over stone walls, following a faint, shimmering trail near the ancient willow tree at the village's edge. There she found a mischievous wind sprite, clutching a glowing orb that pulsed softly in its hands. "Return the moonlight," Whiskers demanded, her voice ringing with the quiet authority only a midnight cat could command. The sprite pouted, its cheeks puffing out in defiance, but after a moment it relented and placed the orb gently at Whiskers' paws. With a swift practiced swipe, Whiskers batted the orb skyward. It soared upward, dissolving into radiant beams that spread across the heavens, restoring the moon to its rightful throne above. The village was bathed once more in gentle, silvery light. Whiskers licked her paw, satisfied with her secret victory, and slipped away into the shadows, her mission complete until the next midnight adventure called her name. The riverside shimmered beneath a tapestry of floating lanterns. Each one carried a wish, flickering with hope and dreams whispered into the night. Among the crowd, May carefully unfolded her delicate paper lantern, her secret wish scribbled inside, to find someone who truly understood the quiet language of her heart. Across the water, Lucas stood hesitating, pen in hand, unsure what words could capture his longing. Then, inspiration struck as he glanced at the girl across the crowd, her eyes reflecting the lantern's gentle glow like twin stars. He wished for a meaningful connection, someone to share quiet moments, laughter, and the unspoken comfort of presence. As the lanterns were released, May's and Lucas's wishes drifted skyward, the soft breeze nudging them closer together. They watched in awe as their lanterns touched, flames flickering side by side before rising higher into the night. The crowd cheered, and May and Lucas found themselves standing shoulder to shoulder, drawn by the shared path of their glowing wishes. They exchanged shy smiles, words tumbling out in awkward bursts, the night humming with possibility. As the final lanterns disappeared into the stars, two strangers lingered by the water's edge, both sensing their wishes had already begun to intertwine in ways neither could yet explain. Maya's hands trembled as she stood behind the velvet curtain, clutching her invention, a palm-sized whirring device of gears and colored glass. The town's annual science fair bustled beyond. But Maya heard only her heartbeat pounding in her ears. She remembered all the late nights spent tinkering in her tiny attic, the smell of solder mixing with the faint scent of old wood, and the steady sound of rain tapping on the roof above. When her name echoed over the speakers, she stepped forward, chin held high despite the flutter in her stomach. "This," she announced proudly, "is the Suncatcher." With a gentle flick, the device spun to life, scattering dancing rainbows across the auditorium walls and ceiling. Gasps and murmurs of wonder filled the air. Maya explained, "It stores sunlight during the day and releases it as light and color at night, brightening even the darkest rooms." The judges leaned in, examining it closely, marveling at its elegant simplicity and delicate beauty. A little girl in the front row reached out, her eyes wide with amazement. Maya knelt down, carefully handing the Suncatcher to her. The child's delighted laughter echoed through the room, a sound more rewarding than any prize. In that moment, Maya felt a spark inside her ignite brighter than ever before. She wasn't just presenting an invention. She was sharing a piece of herself with the world, opening a door to endless possibilities. As the final bell chimed and the shopkeeper turned the key, silence settled over the little toy shop. Moonlight danced through the window, glinting off rows of shiny metal mice lined neatly on a low shelf. At the stroke of midnight, a faint whirring began deep within the shadows. One by one, the tiny mice twitched to life, their gears clicking softly, in perfect harmony. The leader, a silver mouse with emerald eyes, sprang forward, tail spinning like a tiny corkscrew. The others followed eagerly, forming a perfect parade. They scurried through aisles of dolls and wooden trains, weaving intricate patterns across the polished floorboards. The leader paused beneath the rocking horse, and the mice formed a circle, spinning in synchronized delight. Their tiny paws left delicate trails in the dust, sketching swirling shapes that glimmered faintly in the moonlight. As dawn approached, the mice returned to their shelf, lined up just as before, their eyes dimming to stillness. The shopkeeper unlocked the door, never suspecting the magic that danced each night. Only the faintest trails remained, proof of the secret parade that brought the toy shop to life when no one watched. The city slept beneath a curtain of midnight rain as Detective Lane trudged through neon puddles, collar turned high. The case was simple. Find Mrs. Bellamy's missing cat, Jasper. But nothing felt simple at this hour. Lane spotted muddy paw prints weaving between flickering streetlights and alley shadows. He followed, heart pounding, until a faint meow cut through the drizzle. There, atop a trash bin, Jasper blinked, soaked but unharmed. Lane scooped him up, cradling the trembling feline. Sometimes the loneliest nights end with a small, warm victory. Midnight in the city. Rain fell in silver sheets, pooling in alleys and washing secrets into the gutters. On a battered fence, Detective Whiskers flicked his tail, eyes sharp as broken glass. The word on the street, the alley blues, had vanished, no more mournful tunes echoing through the wet brick maze. Whiskers slinked past neon puddles, nose twitching for a whiff of trouble. He found old Mousy, trembling beneath a trash can lid, eyes wide with fear. "They took it, Detective. The music's gone. The blues, the soul of the streets, it's vanished." Whiskers narrowed his gaze, the city's shadows deepening around him. Only one crew had the nerve, the Rat Pack. He followed a trail of scattered, soggy notes to the heart of their den. There, under flickering lamplight, the pack huddled around a battered saxophone, silent as the grave. "Music's meant to roam free," Whiskers growled, voice low and steady. The boss rat hesitated, then slid the saxophone over with a reluctant paw. Whiskers padded back to the alley, raised the instrument to the moonlight, and let the blues wail once more. Rain mingled with the melody, weaving through the city's veins, and the city breathed easy again. The music was home, and so was he. Thunder shook the small town as rain hammered the empty streets. Inside her bedroom, Clara pressed her nose to the window, watching the lightning flicker across the dark sky. At exactly midnight, a strange sound drifted above the storm, a faint tapping like fingers drumming on wood. It grew louder, echoing from the old library across the square. The library had been locked for years, its doors chained shut, its windows thick with dust and cobwebs. But curiosity tugged at Clara's heart, stronger than fear. Wrapping herself in a blanket, she slipped quietly outside, letting the cold rain soak her slippers. The tapping continued, rhythmic and strangely inviting. She reached the library's door, surprised to find the heavy chain missing, the lock gone. The door creaked open slowly, revealing rows of shadowy shelves stretching into darkness. The tapping stopped abruptly. Clara held her breath, listening. Silence. Then, from deep within, a book slid from a shelf all by itself, landing open at her feet. On the page, her name was written in swirling, glowing ink. The rain faded. The storm's roar softened to a whisper. The library's secrets waited patiently. Clara stepped inside, drawn by the promise of stories only she could read. The midnight storm, now a distant memory. Dust billowed behind a lone rider as he galloped into the silent desert, a burlap sack bouncing at his side. Inside, a peculiar prize, a plump green cactus, rumored to bring luck to whoever possessed it. The bandit, known for his quick hands and quicker wit, smirked at his haul, feeling the thrill of his latest conquest. He set up camp beneath the pale moon, placing the cactus carefully beside his fire. As he reached for it, a gravelly voice rumbled softly, "Take only what you need, wanderer." The bandit jerked back, eyes wide with surprise. The cactus's spines shimmered mysteriously in the firelight. "Why steal me? I harm none and offer shade to all who seek it." The bandit scoffed, dismissing the words as tricks of the desert night. But the cactus continued. "Greed dries the soul faster than the sun. Return me, and your heart may yet bloom with something richer than gold." Doubt gnawed at the thief's conscience. The desert air felt colder, emptier. By dawn, he trudged back, cactus in hand, and gently replanted it where it belonged among the rocks and sand. The cactus whispered softly, "Roots grow deepest where kindness is sown." As the bandit rode away, a strange warmth filled his chest, and he knew he'd stolen wisdom instead of luck, a treasure far more precious than any he'd taken before. Milo crept into the attic on a rainy afternoon, searching for adventure among the forgotten boxes and dusty trunks. As thunder rumbled softly outside, his eyes caught a battered leather case tucked behind an old trunk. Inside, he found an ancient camera, its metal cool and heavy in his small hands. Curiosity sparked. He carefully fiddled with the knobs and peered through the viewfinder. Suddenly, the attic seemed to transform around him, shadows flickering and dancing in the flash of his imagination. Digging deeper into the case, Milo discovered a stack of black and white photographs, their edges curled and worn, faces frozen in time. Each photo told a story: a woman in a polka dot dress laughing beneath a willow tree, a boy on a bicycle racing the wind, a family gathered around a birthday cake. Milo studied their eyes, wondering about their dreams, their lives, their secrets hidden behind those smiles. He felt strangely connected to these strangers, as if the camera had passed their memories directly to him. Outside, rain pattered steadily on the roof, while Milo arranged the photos in a circle, stories unfolding vividly in his mind. In that quiet attic, history came alive, one snapshot at a time, bridging past and present in a silent conversation.
Every Wednesday night, Harold swept the marble floors of the city's grandest bank. He preferred the quiet after closing, the echo of his mop the only sound breaking the stillness. But tonight, tucked beneath a heavy oak desk in the executive wing, he spotted a battered briefcase. It shouldn't have been there. Curiosity prickled his skin like never before. He glanced around, feeling oddly bold and a little reckless, then flipped the latch. Inside was a single sheet of paper covered in strange symbols and numbers. No name, no signature, just a puzzle waiting to be solved. Harold studied it, heart thumping with a mix of fear and excitement. The symbols looked like nothing he'd ever seen in his crossword books or puzzles. He carefully copied the letter, then tucked the original back and locked the case. The rest of his shift, he replayed the moment over and over, wondering who had left it and why. At dawn, Harold sat by his small kitchen window, the morning light casting soft shadows, decoding the message with a pencil and stubborn determination. Slowly, a phrase emerged. "Meet at midnight. Same place. Bring the key." Harold smiled to himself. He didn't know what key they meant, but for the first time in years, his life felt like an unexpected adventure waiting just beyond the ordinary. Ellie tiptoed past towering shelves as the old clock chimed midnight. She'd only planned to return a book, but a faded note had slipped from its pages. "Begin where the bluebird sings." Her heart thumped as she scanned the dim library, searching for clues until she spied a worn book, The Bluebird's Song, perched atop a crooked stack. Inside, a pressed violet and another message awaited. "Seek the lion's silent roar." She darted to the biography section, tracing dusty spines until she found a weathered volume about a famous explorer known as the Lion. Tucked within its cover, a tiny brass key glinted softly in the moonlight. Ellie gripped it tightly, following a hunch to the forgotten reading nook hidden behind the encyclopedias. There, a small wooden box sat quietly. The key fit perfectly. Inside, a single photograph showed her grandmother as a child, standing in the very same library, holding the first book Ellie had found. Tears pricked Ellie's eyes. She smiled, realizing she'd just followed the same secret trail her grandmother once had, both lost and found in the library's quiet embrace.
In the candlelit corridors of Eldenhall Palace, a young messenger named Thomas hurried with a sealed letter, its crimson wax bearing the king's mark. His task was simple: deliver the urgent decree to the distant border guard before dawn. Yet as he passed through the bustling market square, a juggler's tossed apple struck Thomas's satchel, sending the letter tumbling into a basket of laundry piled high on a vendor's cart. Flustered and pressed for time, Thomas scooped up the first letter he found nearby and sped away, never noticing the switch. The letter he delivered was not the king's command to strengthen the border defenses, but a gentle note from the queen to her seamstress, requesting new curtains for the royal chambers. Days later, the border soldiers received the queen's order, bewildered but obedient. They hung curtains in the watchtower windows, abandoning their posts to sew and decorate. Meanwhile, the king's real decree went unread until the seamstress discovered it tucked inside a bundle of fabric, too late to summon the guards. That single mix-up left the border unguarded, allowing peace to settle where war had once threatened. And so, a messenger's mistake quietly altered the fate of a kingdom, proving how fragile the threads of history can be. Mina sat cross-legged on her bedroom floor, a blank sheet of paper spread before her. She dipped her brush into a pot of shimmering blue paint, not expecting anything more than another quiet afternoon of doodling. But as the bristles touched the page, a tiny spark leapt from the tip. Startled, Mina watched as the line she drew began to wriggle and shimmer. She blinked, but the squiggle wriggled still, twisting into a long, curling tail. She carefully painted a round body, two tiny eyes, and suddenly, a small blue creature blinked up at her, stretching its tail with a slow yawn. Mina gasped, then grinned in disbelief. She painted fluffy clouds, and they puffed up, floating lazily above her bed. Bright flowers unfurled in the corners of the paper, their petals swaying gently to a secret breeze only they could feel. The little blue creature scampered across the page, leaping from cloud to cloud with joyful bounds. Mina's room filled with gentle laughter and swirling colors, the lines between her world and her imagination melting away like morning mist. She smiled, knowing this magical brush had transformed her simple doodles into a vibrant, moving wonderland. A secret world alive just for her to explore.
In the heart of a silent workshop, a clever clockmaker wound his greatest creation, a brass owl, eyes aglow with amber glass. For years it perched obediently, ticking beside a mountain of blueprints and spare cogs, a silent guardian of time. But tonight, as midnight's chime echoed through the stillness, the owl's gears whirred with a new hunger, a restless pulse stirring deep within its intricate frame. With a delicate click, it unfurled metal wings, scattering copper shavings across the worn wooden workbench as it leapt silently into the air. Through an open window, it soared into the velvet sky, feathers of polished steel catching and reflecting starlight like tiny mirrors. The city below lay wrapped in slumber, unaware of the silent marvel gliding gracefully overhead. The owl dipped between chimneys, brushed past weathered rooftops, and finally landed atop the tallest clock tower, its brass talons gripping the cold stone. There, it gazed at the glowing moon, its heart tick syncing perfectly with the tower's deep, resonant bell. For the first time, it felt more than a sum of springs and wires. It felt alive, driven not by a key, but by wonder and a yearning to explore. As dawn neared, the clockmaker awoke to an empty perch and a single brass feather left behind, a quiet reminder of the night's secret flight.